Students, we are starting our new chapter of microorganism and their use in biotechnology. First, we have to see what biotechnology is. It is actually a branch of applied science that utilizes living organisms and their derivatives in order to produce different products and processes. These products and processes are then used from one field to another, ranging from healthcare and medicine to biofuels and environmental safety. To learn about biotechnology, we should first be familiar with the structure of microorganisms that we are going to use, and then we will see their application in biotechnology. The organism that we have to learn are viruses, bacteria, and fungus. This is the comparison between their sizes. Viruses are smallest disease causing particles. It means they are pathogens and they are only visible under the electron microscope. On the other hand, bacteria are larger than viruses and they are barely visible under the light microscope. Fungus can be multicellular or single celled or unicellular. In unicellular, we will read about yeast, and in multicellular fungus, we will see the structure of bread mold. Minded that the mushroom is actually a fungus, a multicellular fungus. This is the structure of bacteria. It has a cell wall, a plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and chromosomes along with ribosomes. If you see here, the genetic material is not enclosed in a nuclear membrane, so we often say that bacteria has no true nucleus since the genetic material of the bacteria is not membrane bounded. The cell wall here is made up of murine or peptidoglycan, unlike in plant cell where the cell wall was made up of cellulose. Some of the bacteria have some additional features also, which are described in later slides. If you see here, I have placed three kind of bacteria depending upon their shapes. This is Vibrio, which is a comma-like, and if you see there is a hair-like structure here. This is called flagella, which helps the bacteria to move. This is a spiral-shaped bacteria called spirillum, and here we see Streptococcus, in which spherical bacteria are chained together to form a long chain of bacteria. So we can say that bacteria are divided into three main categories depending upon their shape. We can also categorize bacteria on the basis of if they require oxygen for respiration or not. On that basis, we can classify bacteria in two categories: aerobic bacteria, which require oxygen, and anaerobic bacteria, which are not requiring oxygen for their survival. This is the structure of virus. If you see here, I've shown you two shapes of the virus, but whatever the shape is, the structure of virus is quite simple. All of them would have a protein coat, a protein capsid, and they will have nucleic acid. Nucleic acid comprises of DNA or RNA. Remember that the virus would either contain DNA or RNA, never both together. If you see the structure of this bacteria here, it is a tadpole shape where the head is containing the nucleic acid. Again, like I told you before, that this nucleic acid can be DNA or RNA. This is the tail, which will attach the bacteria onto the surface of the host cell. Here I have shown you a spherical virus. Now let's see what this tadpole shape virus does. What it does is it attaches itself to a host cell. This host cell can be a bacteria. Hence, this virus can be named as bacteriophage. Bacteriophage is a virus which would attack or which would feed over a bacterial cell. If you see here that the virus has attached itself to the cell membrane, the cell wall of the bacteria, it has got its genetic material which is being transmitted to the bacterial cell, and that genetic material of the virus ordered the bacterial cell to produce the viral protein and viral structural components which are required for the reproduction of the virus. Here again, if you see that the viral genome gets into the bacterial cell and causes the bacteria to produce the structural components of the virus. The viral genome, after entering into the bacterial cell, will reproduce exponentially and will lead to formation of millions and trillions of viruses, and ultimately causing the bursting of bacterial cell. The bacteriophage does that, and which will cause the release of many viruses. Now let's see the structure of a fungus, a multicellular fungus called bread mold. The scientific name for that is Rhizopus. This is how it looks like, and let's see the detailed structure of it now. If you will observe a bread mold, you would find thread-like structures lying on the substratum. Substratum is that product or that substance over which the fungus is feeding. If you will see that here I have drawn different kind of thread-like structures. Some are lying horizontally and some are vertically standing. The vertical hyphae, these thread-like structures are called hyphae. These hyphae, which are vertically positioned, will have sporangium at their ends. These are spore producing bodies and will produce spores. These horizontally lying hyphae will attach the fungus to the substrate or substratum, and these rhizoids will cause the absorption of the nutrients into the fungus. Here again I have shown you the structure of Rhizopus or bread mold. Mind it that there is extracellular digestion in fungus. What does it mean actually? Extracellular digestion means that the fungus will release or excrete its digestive enzymes onto the substratum. The substratum, which is bread of course, contains starch. These enzymes will lead to digestion of starch, ultimately causing the formation of simpler units or simple components, for instance glucose. This glucose now would be absorbed by the fungus. So you see that the enzymes are released outside the body of the fungus, hence it is named as extracellular digestion. Here again I have tried to show you the structure of bread mold or Rhizopus stoloniferum. If you see here that in the hyphus, the nucleus are lying suspending into the cytoplasm. There is no partition walls or no specific discrete cells. The cells partition walls are not there, and all the nucleuses are lying in the cytoplasm. The cell wall is made up of chitin, it's a carbohydrate. So now we have read three cell walls. One was in plant cell made up of cellulose. The second one was seen in bacterial cell, which was made up of murine and peptidoglycan. And this is the third cell wall we are reading about. This is present in the fungus and is made up of chitin. Now this is also a fungus, but what kind of fungus is this? It is a unicellular fungus. The example is yeast. Again you see that the cell wall is present, which is made up of chitin. We have cell membrane, nucleus, we have mitochondrion, vacuole and cytoplasm. Along with all these, we have observed the glycogen molecules present in the cells of the yeast. This is the general structural comparison between viruses, bacteria and fungus. If you see viruses, I told you that it contains nucleic acid surrounded by protein coat. It does not have protoplasm. Hence, we do not place viruses in living bodies, nor we place them in non-living ones because of the dual nature of the virus. Virus only reproduce, respires, excrete, feed whenever it is in the host cell. If it is not attached to a host cell, it appears to be dead. Because of this dual nature, the viruses are not placed into any of the categories. Instead, it is placed at a boundary line. On the other hand, bacteria contains protoplasm, cell wall that is made up of murine, a single circular loop of DNA, additional rings of DNA called plasmids. Some of the bacteria would also contain flagella, which is a structure helping the bacteria to move. Then there is slime capsule for protection. In fungus, we see protoplasm, the cell wall, which is made up of chitin, DNA in the nucleus. It can be multicellular, containing meshwork of finely branching threads called hyphae, which together are called mycelium. Now let's see the shapes. Viruses are categorized into three branches, or you can say three groups because of the shapes of them. We see spherical viruses, for instance, influenza virus. We see rod-shaped viruses, for example, tobacco mosaic virus. And then we see some tadpole-shaped also, which are previously discussed. The example of it is a bacteriophage. Bacteria, on the other hand, are again having three kind of shapes: cocci, which are spherical; bacilli are rod-shaped; and then we see vibrio, which are comma-like; and spirilla, which are spiral-shaped. Fungus are again of two types: unicellular, the example of which is yeast, and a multicellular fungus also. The examples are many. Penicillium, we have rhizopus or bread mold that we have previously seen in the slides, and mushrooms.